Invincible Season 2, where animated superheroes find a way to make you laugh, cry, and question your moral compass, all in one fell swoop. This season doesn't just continue the bloody, visceral tale of Mark Grayson, it elevates it to a veritable art form, Shakespearean drama, wrapped in spandex and gore. Let's dive right into the meat of it, the plot. If you thought Season 1 was intense with its father-son beatdown that made Thanksgiving dinners across the world look tame, Season 2 cranks it up to an 11. Mark, still reeling from the revelations about his Viltrumite heritage and dear old dad's genocidal tendencies, grapples with what it means to be a superhero in a world that's increasingly grey. But it's not just about the battles and the blood, though there's plenty of that. The true strength of Season 2 lies in an ability to weave personal growth and complex relationships into the carnage. Mark's struggle with his identity, his strained relationship with his mother, and his attempts to maintain some semblance of normalcy with his friends and girlfriend Amber provide a rich emotional tapestry that grounds the over-the-top superhero antics. Let's also just say that this season, similar to its predecessor, the first season, is just as brutal, if not even more sometimes. I'm talking about straight from episode 1, continuing on in each and every episode, and the last one. Dear goodness, that last one was brutal. The only other show that has made me physically cringe due to the blood, gore, and violence used was Game of Thrones, which is in its own league when it comes to that. Before I even started watching Season 2, I was thinking to myself, man, can they even come close to Season 1? And believe me, my boy, they smashed it out the park with this one. I actually really like this more than the first season, which I'll have to give credit to, because some of the better scenes and dialogue here are impossible without Season 1 taking place and setting the stage for all this. The ability of the producers and directors to build upon all the characters, main and side, and make them feel important is a real skill right there. For instance, you got the parallels between Mark and Nolan, Angstrom Levy's descent into madness, Rex and Rudy's character growth, and the trauma that Debbie, Donald, and Rick go through. When I tell y'all that I was hooked from beginning to end, I ain't playing with y'all. For instance, Mark goes through trauma the worst, arguably out of everyone in this entire cast. Let me paint a vivid picture for you. By the end of the first season, he finds out his dad's from a conqueror-like race and feels it the hard way after getting whooped by him and not being able to save people. He's stuck with the pain and guilt of all this, and most importantly, is trying to prove that he's not his father. During the course of the season, he finds his dad to be well and alive on another planet with a new wife and a new kid, which is Mark's half-brother. Well, ain't that something? Mind you, he referred to Mark's mum as a pet last season, in case you forgot. Then, just when Mark thinks he can enjoy his college life and his future with Amber, he gets cock-blocked at every corner by some new superhero emergency. There was literally a point in which Anissa, another Viltrumite, threatened to kill Amber if Mark didn't come with her, along with everyone else at the restaurant they were both at. Women. I'm kidding. Or am I? Anissa gives him a similar proposal to the one his dad gave him, and surprise, surprise, Mark immediately refuses this. And let's just say this same woman comes and gives Mark one of the worst ass whoopings of the season, only to be topped by Omni-Man from last season. Mark was hella lucky as well, because in both these cases, the sentiment these Viltrumites had towards him, which is unusual for them, is what saved his life. I also love how throughout the course of the season, from the midpoint onwards, we get to see Nolan let his guard down a bit and, ironically, become more human. This was best shown when the Thraxans were killed by the invading Viltrumites, and he felt pain and anguish for the lives lost there. He even said to Mark he doesn't know why he felt that way, and he shouldn't have even had that sentimentality to begin with. I like to believe that his time on Earth with Mark and Debbie is what softened him up over the course of 20 years, which inevitably caused him to become more empathetic towards creatures far weaker than him, such as humans and Thraxans. Ironically, by the end of the season, Mark became more of a Viltrumite in the process, although his was character building as it was more of a necessity. Mark had to learn one way or the other that everything has consequences, good and bad, which is one of the main themes of the show next to trauma. So when he kills Angstrom Levy in the season finale, it took a real toll on him. Even in life-threatening situations like his dad and him fighting Viltrumites, he was still holding back, fearful that he could become like his dad. However, in this case, he learned that he had to unlock that side of himself because life isn't fair, and this is the life that he's tasked with taking care of. He was lucky that neither his mum nor Oliver were dead near the end of the season, and his mum only sustained an arm being torn off, which is still horrible, don't get me wrong by the way. I love how Debbie has a realistic take on trauma and that it can't be solved in a few episodes, but that it's a lifelong thing that needs to be addressed and worked on constantly. Despite Rex almost dying, I like how that made him a better person and guy in general, while still keeping his core personality and mannerisms intact. It took Rudy a while, but it was good to see him understand Monster Girl towards the end. Rudy was trying to fix her. For those that don't know, Monster Girl's ability allows her to transform as a monster. Surprise, surprise. But every time she uses it, she'll age backwards, which is quite a fair bit of time for her considering the field in which she works in. Rex was well-intentioned, but fairly binary because despite him having a human body, his brain very much resembled that of a robot's, which came off tone deaf most of the time to real-world issues. Angstrom Levy's descent into madness was a sight to watch. The man essentially ended up looking like a much grosser version of Megamind, got stuck with the trauma and memories of alternate versions of him, which died at the hands of alternate Marks and is left like this for the rest of the season. He was really kind-hearted, even trying to save Mark in the first episode, but unfortunately that ended up working against him like a double-edged sword. I also liked what Debbie said with saying that Levy was mad because this version of Mark Grayson is the only one that isn't a murderous tyrant and is actually the complete opposite. Levy didn't want to admit this because if he did, it would invalidate his feelings, trauma, pain, and all the mess up things he did to get here, and to Mark and his family, just to get back at him for pain that wasn't really his, initially that is. But Levy did serve as a good reminder to Mark to beware of everything that you do and that there are consequences in every action and decision you make. Also, can we say that I love Adam Eve's character arc? All she wants to do is help, but nearly every decision she makes blows up in her face. For example, early on she helped rebuild an apartment complex and a community park to which a mother and daughter thank her for. However, her dad brings this to her attention and much to her horror, realizes why the buildings took so long to do so. It's because the ground underneath that area was unstable, which resulted in the death and injury of those residents, including the mother and daughter that thanked her beforehand, crushing her soul and heart. It hurt, but I think her being able to have the decision to choose that and follow through with it would have been better in general, because of the freedom provided. But you also gotta think, similar to Mark's situation, everything has consequences. It's just that in this case, Eve received the negative consequence for it. Also, can I say that the Adam Eve special episode is amazing? I watched it just after the season finale and just before writing this, and all I could say at the end was just wow. The fact that they could take an already existing character and build on their backstory and development was truly something wonderful to witness. I also loved getting to see the photograph of her family referenced in season 2 in the special. It served as a really nice Easter egg. If you like Invincible and haven't seen the special, then I advise you dearly to go ahead and watch it. I know I said I would be on the season ASAP, but one, the first 4 and last episodes were split up and dropped at different time periods as opposed to all in one go. And honestly, I was just procrastinating. Thanks y'all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed both this video and the second season of Invincible. Tell me what your favorite moments are. I'm curious to know. Stay tuned, and this is Black Sugar Lovin', out.